Oh, Foxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, just for play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Good evening and welcome to our monthly edition of Moana Nui After Dark presents Geek Speak On Sports. I'm your host, James, as always, joined by that guy right there. Make sure I'm pointing the right way. He's right there.
What's going on, people? How y'all doing tonight?
What's good, man? Going on since the last time we spoke?
Not a whole lot. There's some people I want kicked off my team. It's some people I want brought onto my team. And that includes all of them, not just the Falcons. Upgraded my PC before the shit hit the fan and stuff got super duper expensive. So I essentially got a brand new computer.
Hey, I feel you on that. Let me piggyback on that one real quick. I know you've been on me about upgrading the memory in my PS5. I finally got a little 4 terabyte drive to install into the system.
There you go.
It showed up Monday morning. So when I had some time yesterday, when I got off work, popped that bad boy in and moved my 2 biggest games over to the additional drive, so the smaller games can take up more of the space on the hard drive itself. So
there you go.
Being responsible with my tech.
What I would suggest is to move everything, and because is your external drive full?
Is it full?
Yeah, your external.
Nah. Well, the external drive that I bought actually is inside the PlayStation. I actually popped the cover off and installed the bad boy. So, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, put all your games on that new drive that you've got,
yes,
and you will
eventually
notice some performance, some very nice performance increases.
I did when I was playing Diablo last night.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
Because that was one of the games that got moved to the drive. And the 2 biggest games, like Diablo and Destiny, are the 2 biggest games that were taking up the most space.
Yep.
Those immediately got moved. And as I was playing Diablo, I was like, oh, this is running a lot faster and smoother than normal. So
yep. The biggest thing that I noticed when I did it was loading screens.
Well, I mean,
they're damn near non-existent for me at this point.
I will let you know when I play Destiny later on this week, because sometimes I will be stuck in that loading screen forever. Like it's been 5 minutes and I still have not landed in the tower. But
yeah.
But the reason we're all here for the evening, our other cohorts may or may not be joining us later. But until then, sports. First up, I do want to get this out the way to show that I am not biased towards any one person or team. Congratulations to the men's and women's NCAA basketball champions, Florida men and the UConn women. I'm going to be honest. Once again this year for the, let's see, this is 25, carry to 1, drop to 3. For like the 20-something, maybe 10, 15th year in a row, I have not watched a single minute of men's college basketball. You're never going to get me to watch. I'm just happy that on the men's side, Duke didn't win. I wish I could say the same about UConn, but give them their props. They beat a very good South Carolina squad again to pretty much prove that 28-point beatdown they gave them at the end of the regular season was not a fluke, because they beat them by 22 this time.
The thing that's funny about that is, I'm a casual college sports fan.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was putting my brackets together, in most of my games, I was rooting for the underdogs.
Oh,
And the interesting thing is I had picked Duke to win the men's and South Carolina to win the women's.
well, you went 0 for 2. Congratulations.
But I like the fact that I at least got one team right that played in the championship
game. Yes.
Because I was very surprised. I did watch, what was it, Duke and Houston, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that was a semifinal game. Apparently, lots of talk on that one.
I caught like the last 8 or 9 minutes of that game.
So the best part.
They played their asses off. And I'm like, again, casual college fan, so I don't know how good they've been throughout the year, but they played their asses off in that game against Duke. And I was like, yeah, they earned every moment of victory in that game.
I will say that having watched the last, because when I woke up, that semifinal was Saturday night. So Sunday morning when I woke up and I was like, let me see who won the semifinals. And the first thing that popped up on ESPN when I went to the app on my phone was the score of the Duke-Houston game. And I'm like, this can't be right. Houston won?
Yeah.
But let's backtrack, because this is like the first time in over like almost 15 years that all 4 1 seeds on the men's side made the Final Four. It normally does not happen. A 1 seed normally stumbles somewhere along the way and falls out. But yeah, it's been at least 10 to 15 years that all 4 1 seeds made it. That would be Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke, as we just mentioned. And yeah, a little bit of controversy at the end of that the Duke and Houston game. Not that it would have made that much of a difference, but it probably would have swung momentum a little in the opposite direction. I mean, I've seen the stats. I've heard the talk about, again, the final 8 minutes. Duke pretty much only scored 9 points down the stretch. They were outscored 25-9 in the final 8 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Kind of hard to win a game that way, especially being up 14.
It's almost like they forgot how to score.
Yeah. And the foul on Cooper Flag is pretty much what drew a lot of ire of many a basketball fan, because, look, love Duke or hate Duke, and this is the part that really stuck out to me as the game was being recapped on Monday talk shows. There are a lot of talking heads who don't like Duke.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. They're not fans of Duke. They acknowledge that Duke puts together powerhouse teams virtually every so often. The greatness that they played under Coach K, but they'll be the first to admit they're not Duke apologists or anything in that way, shape, or form. But we're like, the over the back call on Cooper Flag was total BS across the board. Everybody, and again, these are not Duke homers or people who like Duke, who root for Duke. These are people who adamantly root against Duke whenever possible.
Yeah.
All saying that this was a bad call. And watching the replay, yeah, it's a bad call, ref. And then found out the ref who made the call had no clear viewpoint to actually make said call. So I'm not trying to put a damper on Houston or anything. Even if it wasn't called, Houston still would have retained possession. We don't know how it would have played out from that point forward.
Right.
If there was no call, what they would have ran out of a set, coming back up the floor, but it is what it is. On the women's side, look, I make no bones about me rooting for Dawn Staley for a myriad of reasons.
For the culture.
I mean, that's reason number 3. But as I told one of my friends and one of my coworkers last week, I have been following Dawn Staley's basketball career since she was at Virginia.
How long ago was that?
Late 80s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I remember when she was named to the 92 Olympic team.
Gotcha.
92 Olympics, for those who are basketball aficionados will know that was the year of the dream team. But what they don't talk about is how dominant that women's team was. Granted, they didn't win the gold medal that year. It was still a dominant squad, which is also the impetus that began talks to start the WNBA, which started up, I believe, the next year or so. And follow her career through the WNBA. She made several all-star teams throughout her WNBA career. Towards the tail end of her career, and this is the part that really stands out, the last 4 to 6 years she played in the WNBA, she was coaching Temple at the same time. So, yeah. Now, the seasons didn't overlap. WNBA schedule is still more or less what it was then. So, yeah, in the summer, she played her WNBA schedule, and in the fall, she was coaching women's basketball at Temple, and that was the job she had before she got to South Carolina. So, yes, I have been following. I say I've been following her basketball career. Yeah, I
got you.
So to say I root for her is an understatement. It sucks that they pretty much had to get their brains beat in by UConn, who, again, UConn has put together some very dominant teams over the years, and this is probably one of the more complete teams Gina Auriemma has put on the floor in quite some time.
I mean, because isn't UConn the team that one year, didn't they go, what was it, 2 or 3 years straight with not a single loss?
Yes.
So, I mean,
they won 108 games in a row.
So I could kind of see UConn being if there's going to be a team that was going to beat them, I could see it being UConn strictly based on their history of the kind of teams that they put together throughout the years. Like I said, and I just remember that because I remember how much everybody was talking about it. And I was like, oh, damn, maybe I need to go check out UConn. And yeah, they were the truth.
Breanna Stewart was on that team.
Yeah.
So over that span that they won those 108 games, they won 4 straight national championships. Yeah. Coincidentally, all 4 years, Breanna Stewart was at UConn.
Yep. Because a friend of ours sent us, was it Sports Illustrated? Copies of Sports Illustrated one of the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Sports Illustrated. And I think did she get them signed? I've got them on the shelf. I'm like, I know there's something special about them that I'm not remembering right now. And it might be that they were autographed, but I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's a keepsake that's sitting on my shelf.
Cool. So that's your NCAA news. Let's switch gears briefly to some NBA news. You laugh as if you think you know where I'm going to start this nonsense with.
I don't know what you're talking about, James.
Okay. If I said a particular basketball player who we've talked about ad nauseum for all the wrong reasons over the last couple of years was recently fined, and I told you to guess who and why, what would it be?
LeBron James for flopping?
Nah, that's the pipe dream. That's the pipe dream.
I'm just saying because it should be LeBron for flopping.
It should be LeBron for flopping. No, the basketball player in question is Ja Morant. And guess what he got fined for? Just guess. Just guess. Come on. I give you a hint. It's on the lines of why he was suspended.
Oh my God. Oh wait, was it the gun pointing that he did at Steph?
That would be
the hand motion, I should say, he made at Steph of shooting.
Yeah, the gun celebration that he has been doing pretty much, that has been getting notoriety, I should say, over the last month or so. He finally got fined for it. Now, granted, the fine was practically nothing because it was $75,000.
And he's got a max deal.
No, he does not.
It's not a max deal?
He was going to get a max deal if he, A, did not get suspended, and B, didn't get hurt when he came back off suspension.
That's right.
So he is no longer eligible for a max deal.
He is going to mess up the bag for whoever it is he's taking care of. Because I always go back to that last video I remember seeing of him and one of his boys in the car, goofing off, being knuckleheads like we all used to do, and him flashing the guns, and his boys like, no, put that down. Like, his boys have got more sense than him. And he just keeps doing dumb shit.
You think being suspended for brandishing a gun on a live social media stream would be enough? But, again, he went through the motions, said that he did he said all the right things. Whether he did all the right things is a totally different story. But how you come back fully healthy this year and your celebration is still mimicking the imagery of the thing that pretty much got you suspended.
He's got to learn. He's gonna have to put his head down and just play basketball. He's got to stop.
And technically, that's what he was doing up until the last month or so. Because I'll be perfectly honest, I completely forgot that he was active this season and didn't know he was actually playing until his name popped up. Ja Morant suspended $75,000 for gun gesture.
Yeah.
Seriously? This is why I can't hear your name as being making the all NBA squad. I got to hear your name because
a gun gesture.
The air gun gesture for celebrating. Like,
he's not very bright. He's just not. He's not.
Again, it's one of those things where you're under 30, you're making millions, nobody can tell you anything. And like you said, it's awfully telling when your crew has more sense than you.
Yeah.
Because your crew understands we trying to protect you so that we can still hang on your coattails for whatever. I ain't saying they all like, they skating by with him because they ain't doing squat, but if they're the ones who are pretty much trying to keep him in line, that is the problem, because it's normally the other way around.
Like, this dude, everybody knows it. When you come from a bad environment and you get your break, be it.
But he didn't. Here's the thing, though. He's not from a bad environment.
Well, no, okay, no.
He's Papa Doc from 8 Mile. His parents have a real good marriage. He went to a private school.
But his mama is ghetto as shit.
Okay.
And to me, now, I don't know much about his dad because I hadn't heard much about his dad in the media like I've heard about his mom.
Well, his dad wanted to fight Shannon Sharp one time.
That was his dad. Yeah, you're right. So again, I guess that's what I'm referring to is when you've got that kind of, and you're right, it's not a bad environment, but when you've got, as somebody said, whose video I saw on Instagram, when you are a project kid, but you raising suburb kid, when you are a project adult raising suburban kids, you can't always get away from it. And unfortunately, and granted, I don't know where his parents are from, but they kind of display some stereotypical behavior at times. I'll say it that way because I don't want anybody to think I'm just shitting on his parents, but they display stereotypical behavior at times.
Okay.
And he has picked that up. Because like you said, he's not from a bad neighborhood. He's from a good neighborhood. He's just got parents who don't seem to have acclimated to that good environment, is how it appears. And again, but when you get your break, whatever that break is, you're supposed to elevate at a minimum your parents and whoever that immediate one or two people are that are around you so that y'all can be in a better circumstance. And this fool is steadily moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Let one of my boys catch a break. Again, I always go back to the Michael Vick situation.
Man.
If Vick had been my boy, that house wouldn't have been in his name. He'd have never been on that property. Everything that he would have seen via a private internet feed. And when the shit went down and he was about to go to prison, I'm like, hey, look, dog, this is what I need before I go in and take this charge for you. and this is what I need when I come out. You're
man.
supposed to have people around you to protect you. And Ja has got people around him. He just ain't listening. His boys don't mess up the bag. Don't.
In other NBA news, the shocker that came out of nowhere, this is like the final week and a half of the NBA season. Every team has roughly 4 games left between now and the end of the regular season. Okay? 4 games as of today, roughly. The brick that fell that came out of nowhere was the Denver Nuggets fired their head coach on Monday. At the time that they did that, because they're currently 5th right now, they were 4th in the West. They're now 5th in the West. And they fired their head coach. This is the same head coach that just a couple of years ago coached them to a finals championship. And people wonder why I don't watch basketball, especially on the men's side anymore. Stuff like this is mind-numbing because he's not the first coach that has been fired within 2 years of winning a title. And it'd be one thing if the Denver Nuggets were like, I don't know, dead last in the conference.
Right.
They are currently jockeying for position in the Western Conference playoffs. They can still end up as high as 3, I believe, based on record, because I think only 1 game separates the 3rd place team in the West with the 7th place team in the West. Something like 1 to 2 games separates.
So 3rd place would be the Lakers. They're 17 games behind. What was the other place that you mentioned?
8th place, Minnesota. So 2 games.
Minnesota's 19. Yeah, so 2 games.
Yes. So from the Lakers at 3rd to the Timberwolves at 8, there's only a 2-game difference of everybody but in that space, which includes the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, and the aforementioned T-Wolves. Right? So it's like if they were in the play-in spot from like 7th through 10th, okay, I could get it. You're saying the team is sliding in the wrong direction. They could still finish top 4 in the conference and get a home series in the first round. And you fired this dude.
Kind of makes me wonder what's going on behind the scenes that they ain't telling nobody, because to me, there's got to be something major to make you fire your head coach right now.
No, it's not. Let me point out some examples. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Midway through the 2nd season after they won their championship, fired their head coach.
Again, midway.
True. Everybody I'm about to name pretty much middle of the season, not a week before the playoffs started. The Toronto Raptors, when they beat Golden State, 2 years later, midway through the season, they fired their head coach. It's like, why are you doing this? Now, granted, I feel like some of this should fall on the GMs, because the GMs tend to let key veterans or key role players walk out the door without getting anything for them. They make horrible trades trying to fill voids on the roster. You're trying to keep the superstars happy by giving them the max contracts when they come up for them. But you turn around and you fire the coach. And let's not forget, everybody in the NBA is trying to emulate what the Warriors did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is why the NBA is, for me, I'm only speaking for myself, is why the NBA is unwatchable. Because everybody can't do what the Warriors did 10 years ago.
I mean, but then again, they're just doing the same thing that everybody was doing in baseball that year after that amazing season that the Athletics had. They're just everybody is copying what Oakland did, and oddly enough, everybody is again copying what Oakland did.
Oh, you mean for what the film Moneyball was based off of?
Exactly.
Yet no. So I understand what you're saying. Everybody wasn't trying to do that, because if they were, there'd be more games where people actually got on base as opposed to people hitting home runs.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'll give you that.
And trust me, I get it. The Oakland A situation, I'm not going to say it was an outlier. Yes, several teams did try to mimic that to get people on base consistently, because as long as people are getting on base, the next man up, if they get on base, that means they're driving the guy on base home.
Yeah,
I get that. But every team wasn't trying to do that.
Well, I was more so looking at the fact of how Oakland did it, looking at all the analytics. And after that, everybody started paying more attention to the analytics.
Yeah.
And now,
part of that is why the NBA has shifted as well. Because again, there is no mid game in the NBA. Everybody's pretty much got all 5 players camped out at the 3-point line. There's, pick and roll at the 3-point line. There's back cuts from the 3-point line. There's no post play anymore, and there's no actual sets being run in the paint to create, say, I don't know, a mid-range jump shot. And for those too young to understand, a mid-range jump shot is when a jump shot is taken outside of the box and inside of the 3-point line. It's that space on the court that nobody shoots from anymore.
Inside of the 3-point line, what's that?
Yeah, exactly.
You can shoot from inside the 3-point line?
That and not dunk it. Yes.
When did this happen? When did this happen? Oh, although it's interesting, I do have to say, as much as I love watching Steph Curry play, I'm not a fan of and the blame. I don't know if I should say blame. It shouldn't all be on his shoulders.
It's not.
But he was the player I remember doing it that kind of started everybody else, was all these threes.
Yes. Well, the difference between Steph and everybody else is that he can make damn near 70% of these threes, and everybody else is still shooting 30 to 40.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if Steph shoots from half court, okay. But if your best player for your favorite team shoots from half court, what the hell are they doing? They're not Steph Curry.
And I mean, and plus, if you think about it, we've got no true big man anymore down low, so there's no post game anymore.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to be versatile. You can be big, but if you can't dribble the ball, you can't pass it, and you can't shoot not mid-range. If you can't threaten from the arc,
right,
then you don't get playing time.
Because the biggest big man these days is Jokic, and I'm just like, wow, he's the biggest big man. That says a lot about the current. Well, okay, fair. Whose name I don't hear very often.
Well, he's almost always injured.
Right. So, and again, that's why I say Jokic, who really, that's the big man now.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. I mean, I look at who's the guy? Who is it that San Antonio drafted?
Victor Wembanyama.
And Ferreira Shea that the Hawks draft. Like, the big man is no longer you're considered a big man if you're tall.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yes, as long as you're close to 7 feet.
And I'm just like, these dudes are just tall and skinny. They are not big men. They're just tall. But again, that's my own personal issue with basketball. Like, for me, it's the lack of the big man, the 3-point shot, excuse me, taking over. But the biggest pet peeve I have that makes me hate watching the NBA some days are the refs and the lack of calls, because I hate the Euro step. I hate it. I can't stand it. I'll go on record saying it. I don't care who doesn't like it. You can come see me. I hate the Euro step. And the fact that you can take 8 steps before anybody thinks of calling the travel call. Really?
Oh my gosh.
And again, basketball at one point was my favorite sport. It still is. It's just the NBA disappoints me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The NBA disappoints me. And LeBron and the goddamn flopping. Oh my god. Yo, typically, and we know this from when we were younger, playing basketball at the park and whatnot, what you see the guys do in the game is what we used to do when we played. I'm seeing kids that look like they're 12, 13 years old flopping like LeBron. And I'm like, this is what these kids are gonna grow up and do, is they think flopping is how you win. And I hate that. Can't stand it.
It is disheartening, to say the least. And what sucks is that a lot of the star players, as we talked with Greg about when he was on with us a couple of months ago, a lot of star players pretty much phone it in for the regular season and really don't play hard until the playoffs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, by that point, it's too late. And your team is what it is, with or without you playing hard, and they're not going to get better overnight.
I've actually been giving that some thought.
Okay.
I think some of it is the fact that prior to making it to the NBA, they're playing way too much basketball.
Yes.
They're playing way too much. Because I remember being younger and watching the NBA, there was no load management. You didn't play unless you were suspended or you were injured. Other than that, you got your ass out there and you played. But I would wager those NBA players didn't grow up playing as much basketball as some of the current NBA players.
Yeah.
So some of it, I don't necessarily blame on them. I blame it on the commoditization that has happened with basketball. Yeah, of the sport.
And it's on the youth level, because the moment you can dribble, you're thrown into an AAU team. Right. I'm sorry. You're thrown on at minimum 2 AAU teams.
Yep. And as soon as one season ends, there's another one somewhere else starting that we got to go get you on so that somebody can see you play, and we get you in the program that's run by a scout, and yada, 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 yada. You're in the NBA.
Hold up. Time out. What do you mean a season ends? There's no end to the AAU season. You play year round. Yeah. There are 2 or 3 games every week.
Yeah.
All year. There is no season ending, because there's no championship in AAU ball. Think about that.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no championship on the AAU level. You play. And that's what you do when you're not playing if you're playing for your school. Because that's pretty much your off season, if you want to call it. You play for your school. Whenever that season ends, then you go back to your AAU squad. Or in the case of some athletes, they play for both their AAU squads and their school team at the same time.
Yeah.
So again, like you said, because of the commoditization, hyping prospects earlier and earlier, to the point of where you got scouts going to middle school games.
Yeah.
Because there's always some freakish athlete, a 6'3" 13-year-old
man
who's got handles like Magic Johnson.
Right.
So everyone's trying to get a piece of him, rather he decides that he's going to, turn pro at 18, play overseas for a year, or actually go to college.
Yeah. Or you get pulled into what's that league? What's that organization here in Atlanta that will get you to the NBA, or we pay you $1 million?
Yeah, OTC.
I think it's $1 million.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yes, I think some of that is part of the problem. Is people need a break. You need a break.
What's a break? What are you talking about?
It's typically that time off you get when you're injured.
Yeah. No one knows what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
Oh man. Well, let's move on to something I don't want to talk about. And no, before we get to NFL, and she's most likely not going to be with us tonight, but Candaysee did want us to mention NFL NHL history was made earlier this week. Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, one of the few hometown teams I support. Ovechkin broke the all-time scoring record held by Wayne Gretzky over the weekend. Don't ask me what the number is.
I want to say it's something like 595 or something in that area, because I saw a picture of the two of them in what I'm assuming was his rookie year, and I don't know if Wayne Gretzky was still playing or not, but it was like 594, and then there was another picture down at the bottom that was 595 to 594, and Gretzky was at that game to see him break the record.
Okay. Well, yeah. Wayne Gretzky had retired by the time Ovechkin started playing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will say that much. But yes, Alex Ovechkin is now the all-time goal scorer in NHL history.
I'm sorry. It's 895, not 595.
Yeah, 5 was a little low. I was about to say it's a little high. Wayne put up some numbers back in his day.
Again, I know very little about hockey.
I understand.
Yeah, but yeah, 895.
So congratulations to Alex Ovechkin. Hopefully my Capitals don't get swept out of the first round or blow a 3-1 lead again.
How is right now NHL playoff season?
They're about to start. They overlap with basketball.
Okay.
And now the part of the show I ain't looking forward to, because I don't want to talk about one of these topics. NFL news. And no, I'm not going to mention anything about free agency, because it'll make your head hurt trying to figure out who went where or who didn't go someplace.
What, you mean you don't want to talk about where the great Aaron Rodgers might land? Where your favorite player, Kirk Cousins, wants to go?
You mean your favorite player?
No, sir. No, sir. I would rather have Michael Vick than Kirk Cousins.
I mean, the man is currently wearing a Falcons jersey.
That does not make him a Falcons player.
As of right now, he is still on your roster.
I would rather have Michael Vick as he is right now.
But he's head coach of Norfolk State.
Okay. Which point? What's your point? Norfolk, they play on Saturday. The Falcons play on Sunday. He can do both.
Coach Vick, I don't think is interested in suiting up again anytime soon.
I bet you he'd be better than Kirk Cousins.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one. You know, I will never argue about Kirk Cousins being good.
Man, I will say this, and I don't know if it is true, but the current rumor, and I say rumor because I haven't seen it confirmed, is that we're bringing Matt Ryan back in a coaching / consulting status to help Penix work on some of his game.
Interesting.
Which I'm not the least bit upset at that, because a lot of Falcons fans don't particularly care for Matt Ryan. But when you look at the numbers and what he did for the Falcons organization, there's no, in my eyes, there's no debating he's our greatest quarterback.
Fair.
So yeah, if you're going to bring somebody back to help Penix refine his game and work on a few things here and there, I do not object to it being Matt Ryan.
Now, the only issue with that is, well, several issues. First is, would he want to leave his cushy desk job at CBS Sports? There's that. Does he actually miss football enough to want a career in coaching? Because that would also be the driving factor for him to come back.
Well, or he comes back again, or in a consulting basis, like who was it that I keep wanting them to bring to help with the pass rush? Is it Chuck Smith?
No, it can't be Chuck Smith, because
no,
we know
not Chuck Smith.
I'm about to say, because everybody knows Chuck Smith is nowhere near as good as Chuck Smith thinks he is.
No, not Chuck Smith. I'll think of it in a second, but there's somebody that the Falcons need to bring back that I'll think of it in a second.
Okay. But yeah, if he's going to do a consulting thing, it'd pretty much be up until the season starts, because Sundays during the season, he's going to be at that desk with James Brown and the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
Because can't remember the length of the contract they gave him initially, but I'm pretty sure they've already extended it for that studio gig. So I understand you wanting him back. Going to take a pretty enticing carrot to get him to go to do that, though.
Yeah.
The league / owners meetings happened over the last couple of weeks, and there were several rules that were proposed, passed, denied, and one particular rule that was tabled until the end of May. And the quarterback sneak, as the Philadelphia Eagles run it, tush push, brotherly shove, whatever the hell you all want to call it. That's not what the Eagles call it. But
what do the Eagles call it?
It's a good question, because Jimmy Fallon, when he had Saquon, Hurts, and the offensive line on the week, either after or during the, after they won the Super Bowl, whatever, mentioned it by tush push, and Jalen corrected him and said, that's what everybody else calls it, but we don't call it that. And then never followed up with what they actually called it. He said, we call it something else, but he never actually said what it was.
Gotcha.
So the Eagles players don't call it that, or at least that's not how Jalen calls the play. So I would just refer to it as the Eagles version of the QB sneak. But I find it funny that it was the Green Bay Packers who initially presented the rule change to ban Philly's version of it, initially citing player safety. Okay. And said that the data shows that players get hurt on this play. Now, there's just two problems with that. One, there is no data, because two, no one's gotten hurt on the play. In the three seasons that Philly's been running it, 22, 23, and 24, there is data of how many times the Eagles have run it. Unfortunately, no one's gotten hurt, so there is no data on injuries. And I find it funny that, well, not funny, comical, actually, because Roger Goodell spoke at the owners' meetings mentioning the injury data, though limited, does suggest the play should probably be banned in some way, shape, or form.
I hope Philly, the Eagles owner, I'm about to say the Phillies, but I hope the Eagles owner was like, whoa. None of my players have gotten hurt. What the hell are you talking about?
Well,
I really hope he did that.
No players, not even Eagles opponents, have gotten hurt on this play. So again, and this is just my mathematical brain as far as how data works, because you're plugging in a set of occurrences and formatting that information to display a propensity or lack thereof of said event occurring.
He's got too many imaginary numbers in there somewhere.
So what data do you plug in when there's a null set? That's the question I have. Yeah. And for those who are not attuned to mathematical jargon, a null set is pretty much an empty set, meaning nothing exists.
Yep.
So you say that injuries happen on this play. No, they don't. But you say you have a limited data set that shows injuries occur.
Let's see the
No, you
data.
don't.
Let's see the data.
No, you don't, because the data doesn't exist. For the data to exist, players have to get hurt. And since players aren't getting hurt, the data don't exist. Now,
I just hope somebody at that meeting said, let's see the data. I really need somebody to have said, let's see the data.
Unfortunately, that was not a question that was asked. It was an open-ended question as far as like, because the vote came out when they did vote on it, 16-16.
Yeah.
All right. I can already tell you right now, there should be 4 teams voting against the ban. Philadelphia, obviously.
Right.
The New Orleans Saints will vote against it and have, because their new head coach is our former offensive coordinator.
There you go.
The Indianapolis Colts, because their current head coach was our former offensive coordinator. And we're looking at you sideways, Arizona, because your current head coach is a former defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. So there are your 4 teams right there off the rip.
Yeah.
Who should be voting against this. 3 of them have already come out because they did interview many a coach to see where they voted on this. And they listed about 8 or 9 teams. And like I said, 3 of those 4, Arizona wasn't listed. But the coaches of Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and New Orleans did say why they voted against it. Sirianni jokingly said, like, we have a couple of coordinators out there who are head coaches, so they better be voting with us. But he's dead serious, because
I know
these coaches have their jobs because of the success of this play.
Yeah. One of the teams I was disappointed in
Your Falcons
were the Falcons, and Coach Morris's rationale for voting in favor of the ban. I don't like it, and it's difficult to scheme against. Really? That's your reason? That's your reason for wanting this play banned, is you don't like it and it's difficult to scheme against.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
But it's on par with what I've been saying as far as everyone who's voting for the ban. So along with the Packers and the Bills, by the way, because the only team who runs it at a significant clip to be separated from the rest of the league outside of Philadelphia is Buffalo.
Okay.
Because the league average, I believe, is 71%.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo converts it at just over probably 82, 83%. Philly is up around 90.
And for that kind of play, though, one thing I'll say about Philly and Buffalo is look at the type of quarterbacks that those 2 teams have. You've got to have a well, no. I know it's not just a quarterback, but you've got to have a special kind of quarterback, because I see the potential for injury on that play, but when I look at Hurts and I look at
Josh Allen,
I look at Josh Allen, those are some big boys with big bodies. You get them moving.
Now, let me give you the pushback for quarterback size and why it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts missed the last 3 games of the regular season. We actually ran that play with Kenny Pickett against Dallas 3 times.
Yeah, but that's Dallas.
Let me finish. He succeeded all 3 times, because this goes to your quarterback size argument. Kenny Pickett is in no way, shape, or form on par with Hurts or Allen size-wise.
He's 6'3", but I don't see his weight listed.
Yeah, nowhere near as heavy or as big. Now, granted, that is a scrawny 6'3", because
6'3", 220.
That is a scrawny 6'3", because Kenny Pickett, if you've seen Kenny Pickett stand beside Jalen Hurts at any point last year, you'd be wondering, is that the kicker?
Yeah.
Because again, he is a very scrawny 6'3". There's
Jay,
not much mass with him now. And this is why.
Wait, hold on. One quick question. Is he a scrawny 6'3", or is Jalen Hurts just massive as a quarterback?
Nah. I think Jalen is pretty much built Size-wise, maybe not height, but size-wise, he's pretty much built the way the prototypical quarterback ideally is coveted.
Okay.
Now, the only difference is he can squat 600 pounds.
Right, that's what I was going to, and that's kind of where I was going, was he's got a lot of running back tendencies in his build. Abilities, yeah.
So here's my pushback against quarterback size and why I don't agree. The average size of the Eagles lineman last year was 6'5" and 330.
Jesus.
So again, if you have that mass of humanity pushing against your little defensive line, I do mean little.
Yeah.
Because remember, the way teams are constructed now on the defensive side of the ball is to have these smallish, light, sub 300-pound defensive linemen. This includes D tackle.
Yeah.
Because teams don't run as much as they use overall across the board. The league does not run the ball as much as it used to some 20 years ago.
This is true.
Where the shifts pretty much began. So if you get yourself a massive offensive line, the average D line, weight-wise, is about 280. That includes your D tackles. That in and of itself is a problem because there was a time where if you weren't 300 pounds, you couldn't play D tackle.
Yeah.
You had to be big to play in the interior because you were the primary run stuffer. Your job as D tackle is to occupy blocks. But now since no one runs, we need a shifty Aaron Donald type D tackle so they can get upfield and rush the quarterback from the inside. Okay, how do we neutralize pass rush? You run the ball.
Yeah. And how do you run the ball? Beefy offensive line.
There you go. So Philly's big ass offensive line, because again, literally every single member of the O-line last season weighed at minimum 320. Minimum. And 3 members of our offensive line were over 6'5", both tackles and one of our guards who just left. Mekhi Becton was also over 6'5". So now basically we're down to the remaining 4 members. 2 of them are 6'3", 2 of them are 6'5". Mailata's actually, I think, 6. Is Mailata 6'6" or 6'8"?
Jesus.
Mailata makes Lane Johnson look little. Man. Those are our tackles.
Can I get some of that on the Falcons offensive line?
So again, if you watch the Super Bowl, you saw our offensive line just stand up.
Yeah,
these ain't no little dudes.
I didn't realize they were that big, but those are some big boys.
So why would you not want to run this on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 whenever the opportunity arose? Anytime the Eagles look at that sideline, see the change. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but at one point on one of my social media accounts, my profile picture was just 9 photos of Jalen Hurts, and 8 of them with the same expression: happy, sad, angry, confused, worried, upset. And then the last one said 4th and 1, and he had a big ass Kool-Aid smile on his face.
I remember.
I have another one that says everybody gangster till Eagles line up on the goal line.
Yeah. And again, to me,
in the quarterback sneak formation. So the fact that Green Bay suggested this rule change is hilarious because they ran it against Philadelphia in the wild card round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did they succeed at it, they got 7 yards off it with their freaking tight end.
And did anybody get hurt?
No.
Oh.
Buffalo was the one pushing the whole narrative on player safety and injuries, but they run it with Josh Allen, like I said, at the 2nd highest clip behind Philadelphia.
Right.
And last I checked, Josh Allen and his old line pretty much survived the season on that play. No one got hurt on it. Now, granted, they did screw up in the AFC Championship game against Kansas City when they actually needed a yard and they couldn't get it. But for those 2 teams to have those concerns, and like I said, as I've been talking to people, the 16 teams who voted against it pretty much fall in one of three categories. They can't stop it, or they don't know how to.
Mhm.
They can't run it because they don't have the personnel, i.e. the offensive line. Or, and this is where I think it ultimately comes down to, which is the truth that no one wants to mention, they don't like the way it looks.
Ooh, you think?
I know. So understand. Think about this for a minute.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
What position has won league MVP the last 15 years in a row?
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
And what position do we overhype year in and year out because of the gaudy stats?
Quarterback.
Yeah. So the transition from, again, the 20 years ago I mentioned where more teams were balanced to practically the entire damn league trying to run a spread offense and have quarterbacks throw for 350 a game and have 4,000 and 5,000 yard passing seasons.
Yeah.
Wearing out your defense when you're constantly going 3 and out, and that's why you're losing games. And having quarterbacks like mine getting dogged because he doesn't throw for 300 yards, even though we win. Because I thought the name of the game was winning, not to look pretty.
The name of the game has been looking pretty ever since Hollywood Joe.
Hollywood Joe?
When that its nickname was Hollywood Joe, he showed up
Broadway
in that
Joe.
I'm sorry, Broadway Joe. Thank you, Broadway Joe. Thank you.
Okay, but even in Joe's era, throwing the football was still, it wasn't as proficient then as it is now.
True.
Like your league leaders in passing were barely crossing 3,000 yards and probably had 22 touchdown passes on the season.
Yeah.
And a good season was not throwing more than 15 interceptions.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you can keep that to single digits, it's the expectation of being a great quarterback.
Yeah.
So, because, and again, this has to do with the target demographic. It's not us anymore.
Right.
Target demographic is always 18 to 25. Tell people this all the time. You know, when you're trying to figure out why such and such is this, you're trying to catch the attention of the 18 to 25 year olds.
Yeah. I mean, hell, I've noticed it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And their attention spans tend to be in technology, mostly these things. So how do we keep them engaged with our sport with their short attention spans? When you look at the NFL, 90% of all the highlights are what?
Passing plays.
Pass plays.
Yep.
Regardless if a team wins or loses, it's a quarterback dancing in the pocket, scrambling, heaving the ball some 30, 40 yards at minimum downfield, a wide receiver making a spectacular catch. And that gets the endorphins moving. They want to see more of that. Doesn't matter if the team in the highlight won the game or not.
Right.
It's push stuff like that out as quickly and as often as possible.
Well, it's not just.
Who wants to watch Saquon Barkley run for 70 yards a clip week in and week out, other than me?
Me, I'd like to see that. I would love to see that again. But also one of the things to factor in is, I forget what they call it, but what is it called in sports betting where you don't bet on the entire game, you bet on like small segments.
Prop bets.
Is that what it's called? Okay.
Yeah, the in-game bets.
Yeah.
What, like you're betting on anytime touchdowns. Will this quarterback throw a touchdown in this quarter, or who is the first person who's going to throw it to, or will this wide receiver break 100 yards? Who's going to score a touchdown first?
I think things like that also
Mhm.
contribute because it forces you to know. I won't say it forces you, but it takes your focus away from the bigger picture of
Right.
who wins the game and concentrates it on what happens in this quick little 10 seconds or this little 10 seconds or and
Absolutely.
so on and so forth. I
Absolutely.
think that it has to be factored in as well. And also now that it's legal to bet on NFL games, and like you said,
Mhm.
everybody's got a phone with the betting app on it.
Yeah.
And I'll be completely honest. I tried it a couple of times, but only in those instances where it was like only on Sunday, and they say if you download it now, we enter you in for free. Because number one, I'm not betting my own money. That's just not gonna happen. But any other time they say, well, we'll enter you in for this free chance. Oh, wait, a free bet? I'll take that.
Now be careful with that free bet. All right. I know you watched
I know.
Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, like I do from time to time. He
Yep.
did a show recently on betting and
Yep.
sports.
Yep.
So you saw what he said in that segment. For those who didn't watch it, sometimes that free money is contingent upon you betting a minimum of X number of times, whatever that number X is.
Yeah, no, I know, but you know me, I'm a cheap bastard. They ain't getting my money. No. I'd rather keep dumping it into my 401k, which right now ain't looking all that good, but soon it'll go back up and it'll be looking better again.
Right. Now look, we here do not endorse betting.
Not at all.
I surely don't. And I will say, if you do like betting, please bet responsibly. And if you have a problem, get help.
Or just give me that money and I'll take it. And you'll probably get roughly the same amount of same results out of just giving me the money.
Without the high and low emotional attachment.
Right. I mean, I give you a hug. I give great hugs.
But yeah, that was the biggest news out of the owners meeting, again, because it was a 16-16 split vote. And again, contentious arguments, because the reporting is that several figures were pretty much in heated discussion in the room. And they actually caught members representing Philadelphia and Green Bay going at it in the hallway outside the room after it was decided to table the vote till later. Now here's the thing. NFL rules need 24 of 32 teams to vote in favor of said ruling to get passed. This was 16-16. And we don't know how everybody voted. The article that came out only lists about 8 or 9 teams that voted against the ban and 5 teams that voted for it. Of those 5 teams that voted for it were, again, Atlanta, Green Bay, of course, Buffalo, and I forget who the other 2 were. So, and those on the side of voting against the ban, the defensive coaches all pretty much fell along the same alignment. We got to find a way to stop that play. Simple as that.
To me, that's one of the things that it's. I don't know how often you watch Jamel Hill's Spolitics podcast, but Roy Wood.
I catch it every so often.
Did you see the one with Roy Wood Jr. on there?
I did not.
So, but you know who Roy Wood Jr. is, right?
Of course I do.
Well, not everybody does, but he is a huge. The way you feel about football, James, is how he feels about baseball.
Yeah.
And he talked about.
I know he is a diehard baseball fan.
He talked about a lot of the reasons we young black folks aren't playing baseball is, well, one, the rules have taken so much of the fun out of the game. Because he made the point of, if a dude smacks one all the way out of the park for an amazing home run, let him trot around the bases. Let him have a little swag with it. Let him have a little fun rounding the bases, and you'll get people interested because they'll see the players having fun. To me, I look at a lot of these NFL rules kind of the same way of, you're taking a lot of the fun out of the game. If you don't want me to celebrate when I score a touchdown, stop me from scoring the touchdown. Period. if I get beat and you score on me, you deserve to celebrate, and within reason of getting in my face, obviously within reason, you deserve a little bit of showing off because you beat me, you scored the touchdown, you deserve to have a little bit of fun with it. And then it's my turn on the
penalty. Taunting is still a 15-yard penalty and subject to fine depending on what you do or say.
And I don't know, maybe because I grew up, maybe because of when we grew up and us playing all of these sports like at the park with just us and no referees.
But again, like you said, there's a line that celebrate within reason, but everyone knows that line is you can't stand over a player and look down at him if you make an amazing catch over him. That's a no-no because that is crossing. As cool as it may look.
You mean like Scottie Pippen did to Patrick Ewing?
Yes. Or what AJ Brown did to the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's cool to look at. It is still not in good sportsmanship because sportsmanship is the ultimate thing. Because again, like you said earlier, kids now are flopping at the youth level.
Yeah.
So again, kids are going to watch the pros. They're going to want to emulate what the pros are doing.
This is true. Yep.
Again, you have to. And again, I am all for the group celebrations and the spontaneous reactions and everything like that. And again, mocking to a point.
Right.
Case in point, the NFC Championship game. Terry McLaurin catches a slant pattern and runs like 40 some odd yards to the end zone and does a celebration where he's like, boo. And with his wide receiver group that's on the field, and they walk off. Later in the game, Quinyon Mitchell intercepts a pass intended for Terry McLaurin and mocks his celebration, not at Terry McLaurin, but with his teammates towards the nearest camera, where they did boo, and they ran off the field together. So that, cool. You mock, same thing. What was it? When Cam Newton was playing, he would always do the little Superman thing and scream. I remember one particular game, Joe Horn, they were playing the Saints. Joe Horn caught a touchdown pass early in the game and was like, no, zip it up. Basically saying like, we ain't letting you win today. Like, and he's on mic saying, no, zip it up.
Yeah.
So stuff like that is cool, but you can't point at somebody as you're running like Tariq Hill's peace sign that he does when he's running away from people towards the end zone. He skirts a very fine line because referees are like, that's one. If you do it again, we throw in a flag. Because he talks about that. Which is why you only see him, if he scores 2 touchdowns like that in the game, you'll see him do the peace sign on the first touchdown, not the second. Because he almost always gets a warning.
Yeah. Because
before, he would probably point, in Kansas City, he would point at players as he was running away from them. You can't do that. It's direct taunting. You can't do it.
I know,
because again, kids emulate the pros.
Yeah.
On the high school or Pop Warner level, that's going to start a fight because somebody's going to get in that kid in the other kid's ear and be like, don't you let him beat you again. If he does, you need to blah, 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 blah. And then that kid will see the other kid who pointed at him and lash out for no reason whatsoever. And no one knows why, but an adult got in that kid's ear is like, don't let that happen again.
Yeah. No, you're right. Damn it. Yeah.
Again, I know you don't like it. Yes, it looks cool. Do it in Madden, obviously, because it's Madden.
Oh, that was the thing I was going to mention earlier from when I played. I've even noticed in Madden how heavy it's. Sometimes I'll play Madden and I want to turn my brain off, and all of my plays are coach's suggestion. It's amazing that like something I want to say like 80 to 85% of those plays all pass. And this is the damn video game.
Yeah, the game doesn't. Yes, are there run plays in every formation? Yes. Does the game actually suggest run plays? No.
Nope. But but no, you're right. The kids will be fighting. That will lead to people getting hurt. Yeah.
And when the kids get interviewed, especially on a high school level, where you can actually get to them because they're supposedly responsible enough to be out and about on their own, someone will get to them and ask them a question: "What happened? Well, he was taunting me, and I felt I had to get my lick back, so I knocked his block off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, on the pro level, I get it because they're getting paid. If you want them not celebrate, stop them. But at the same time, there has to be a line with celebration. Direct taunting is a no-no. Other things that did pass at the league meetings is that touchbacks on kickoffs will now bring the ball out to the 35-yard line. I don't understand why.
Well, I get that they're trying to encourage more returning of kickoffs and punt. I get that, but
yeah,
I think it's going to take them a few more years before they get this particular piece of the rule ironed out properly. It's going to take a couple more years.
Yeah, because what happened last year is that teams that were up big were like, there's no way we're giving you a chance to return, because I watched Philly do it. So, and I'm using Philly as the example because I watched every single game of theirs last year. Anytime we went up 2 touchdowns, we shifted from our punter handling kickoff duties to our actual kicker handling kickoff duties. Why? Mm-hmm. Because our kicker can put the ball out the back of the end zone and not give the opposing team a chance to return.
Yeah.
The punter was used because while his leg net may not be as strong as far as kicking that way, he can kick the ball off the tee in such a way to get more height on it so it lands in the field of play to invoke a return, which is what the Eagles wanted early in the game to get them to stop the returner before he hits the 25.
Yeah.
Worked about 80% of the time. But the moment we go up 14, punter, sit down. Jake, you're up. Boot that ball at the back of the end zone. We don't want any momentum swings whatsoever. Like,
I can understand that.
So I get it, but it does take away a bit from the strategy because, if you're up big, why would you want the other team to have the ability to return, especially if they have a dynamic returner?
Yeah.
And get the ball to, say, midfield and shift momentum.
Because all you need is that one crease, and he's gone.
Right. So, like you said, this is going to take some tweaking. Let's put it this way. None of the talking heads that I've seen like this rule. They felt the 25 was fine and probably even pushing it at that point. But now the 35, you're basically telling teams, you're basically telling teams, put the ball in the field of play or else.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I need them to get rid of, because I hated this change when they made it, is I have to let you know if I'm doing an onside kick. I hate that part of the rule. I don't like that.
And this is where, like you said, this is probably going to be revisited somewhere down the line because the formations are different. There is no way to do an onside kick from the current kickoff formation.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, the players line up 5 yards apart at the receiving team's 40 and 45-yard lines. The kicker kicks from his own 35. So you're talking about where the kicker is to where his peoples are is almost 20 yards apart.
Yeah.
Where are you doing an onside kick?
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to announce it. Now, one of the other things that passed was allowing teams to do an onside kick at any point during the game, not waiting until the fourth quarter. Because if you watch during the Super Bowl, they mentioned that rule when the Eagles were up 34-6 after the Chiefs scored in the third quarter. They had to kick the ball off. They could not go for an onside because it was not yet the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So that rule was dropped. So now you can onside kick at any point as long as you're losing. You have to be losing though. Overtime in the regular season is now going to be the same as overtime in the postseason, with one stupid caveat. Overtime time limits will still be 10 minutes in the regular season.
Okay.
Postseason is 15.
Okay, that's where the 15 came.
Regular season is 10. So they will have the same rules where both teams get the chance to possess the ball regardless if the first team scores a touchdown or not.
Yeah.
But it's still a 10 limit time period, which I thought was stupid. Because why are you going halfway with the adoption of the rule from the postseason to the regular season and not all the way? makes no sense.
I mean, I can, well, no,
keep it
maybe
uniform all the way through.
Well, no. The reason I think it makes a little bit more sense during the regular season is just the sheer difference in the number of games that are being played in the regular season versus the playoffs. Because a lot of people are already complaining. Well, let me not say a lot of people. There are already people complaining that the game is too long. Now, you can whether you and I agree with that complaint or not, there are people who complain the game is too long. And you and I both know on paper, how long is an NFL football game on paper?
60 minutes.
And you and I both know we are not just sitting there for 60 minutes.
Yeah, good 2.5, 3 hours on average.
So I think there's something to be said for that 10 minutes of overtime. That 10 minutes could potentially stretch out to 30 to 45 minutes of actual time.
Yes, it can.
You give them that extra 5, now you're potentially at an hour. And we already know at the end of the game, the networks, which I think the networks have a stake in it too, they're trying to get you watching another game so that they can still keep making money off of you. And factor in the NFL rules of we can only show you a certain amount of time on this other game. So I think
outside of the local markets.
Yeah.
Outside
I don't
of the local
know
markets.
how much that gets factored into that decision, but I would bet that aspect of the contracts is factored in so that they can still make as much money as they possibly can.
I hear what you're saying. Trust me, I understand, because that was a scenario that popped up multiple times last season where a couple of 1 o'clock games went late, which is why the 4 o'clock games don't technically start at 4 o'clock. They start at 4:05 or 4:25.
Right.
But depending on if you are watching a team out of your home market and they go into overtime and it gets creeping up on 4:05, the studio team will come back and say, due to NFL rules, those of you in the national audience watching this game will be taken to the start of our 4:05 or 4:25 game, which is blah, 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 national game of the week or whatever. And the only people who get to watch that game that still is in overtime are the markets of the two teams that are playing that overtime game, because they can watch it on the local broadcast.
Right.
So case in point, if it's like Atlanta and Philadelphia, because we're in Atlanta watching the game, we'll see that game all the way to its conclusion. But somebody up in DC who wants to watch that game, they're going to go to whatever that 4 o'clock game is. It could be Dallas and New Orleans, and that's what they're going to be watching. They'll be like, well, who won the Atlanta-Philadelphia game?
Right.
And again, I
wholeheartedly believe contracts with the networks are part of that decision.
Yes.
Large or small, I don't know, but I think it's part of the decision.
Stop making sense. Trying to have fun.
Because, that's the only thing the NFL truly cares about at the end of the day is how much money do we make.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, those are the rules. Some things pretty much got the flat out no in one. So the Detroit Lions propose eliminating the automatic first down on defensive holding, which I say, yes, I'm glad that got knocked down, because stop holding.
Yeah.
As someone brought up on one of the talk shows, was that it's funny Detroit brought this up because cumulatively and individually over the last 3 or so years, Detroit leads the league in defensive holding penalties. And granted, yes, defensive holding sucks, especially if it's 3rd and long.
Yeah.
If it's 3rd and 15 and you're like, all right, cool, we can give up something short. Don't commit no penalty. Let's hurry up and get off the field and make a punt. And then you see a flag on the play and it's coming from the secondary. You're like, crap, it's holding. Who is it on?
First. Automatic.
And if you know your team, you have an idea of who it is. It's like automatic, 5 yards, automatic first down. So now that 3rd and 15 from the 40 became 1st and 10 from the 45.
Yeah.
Going towards
and the more and more I think about it, I think this whole automatic first down should be applied very, very sparingly.
No, because then you're talking about subjectivity, and we already had subjectivity with the replay on pass interference and the whole kerfluffle that was.
Well, and I'm just and maybe I'll do a little. I need to do a little bit of research and find out. And actually, maybe you know off the top of your head, how many types of penalties are there that will get the offense an automatic first down?
Defensive holding, defensive pass interference, unnecessary roughness, roughing the quarterback, unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense. That's already 5. Hands to the face on the defense. And on special teams, leaping, launching,
but so I'm not certain all of those plays warrant an automatic first down.
Well, some of those are 15 yards and an automatic first down.
But okay, so I mean but if you're at 3rd and 20, 15 yards, I don't know. There's just something about automatic first down. Obviously, if I'm benefiting from it, yes, I want it.
I'm about to say, sir.
But spread across the entire league, I don't know. There's just something about automatic first down that I'm just not 100% certain all of those penalties deserve an automatic first down. And I'm sure there are good arguments to be made in favor of them staying as automatic first downs.
And they will.
I'm just not sure. I personally think they all should be automatic first downs.
That is fair.
Because especially if it's a play that happens away from the ball that doesn't affect the outcome of that play.
Like defensive holding.
Yeah. But again, I get why you should definitely call that penalty. You should definitely get yards for it. But because it didn't directly, because if I'm on the weak side and I get defense holding, but the play runs to the strong side, I just don't know that warrants an automatic first down. Because what I did technically is a foul. It should be called. But did it necessarily stop the play from occurring? And I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little too granular in my thinking, which is entirely possible because I will dig down a rabbit hole in a heartbeat. So maybe I'm being a little too granular in my thinking.
You are, because it's got to be uniform across the board, whether it's on the weak side of the play or the strong side of the play. It doesn't matter. Holding is holding, sir.
But this is also why I fix computers for a living and I'm not working for the NFL. Although if a spot ever opened up for the Atlanta Falcons, I'd probably take it in a heartbeat.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that's all the footballs. Oh, and one more football rule was I just had it on the top of my head. The Detroit Lions, which I found hilariously funny, because this one, you talk about a proposal that set everybody on edge. When I say everybody, I mean every network that has a show that has former football players on it railed against Detroit for suggesting this rule. And unfortunately, this rule is currently tabled because they didn't vote on it at all. Detroit wants to reseed the playoffs by record, regardless of if you win your division. So,
no.
For those who are trying to figure out what that means, this past year's playoffs, the seeds were Detroit Lions were 1 because they had the best record in the conference and won their division. The Eagles were 2, second best record in the conference, won their division. The Buccaneers were 3 because they won their division. The Rams were 4 because they won their division. But the Minnesota Vikings were 5th. They are 14-3 record, just like the Eagles, but they're in the same division as Detroit, who finished 15-2. So they became a wild card team.
Yep.
Washington was the next wild card team. I believe their record was either 12-5, I believe. And then the Packers, who finished 11-6. By reseeding, Detroit and Philly would have still been 1-2. Even though Detroit and Minnesota had the same records, Philly would have got the tiebreaker because they won the division.
Right.
Minnesota would have been the 3 seed. Washington would have been 4. Tampa Bay would have been 5. Green Bay still would have been 6, and the Rams would have been 7.
Yeah.
So naturally, all the former players are like, what the hell? Then what's the point of winning my division if you're just going to go by record? Because see, every year some idiot group representing a team proposes reseeding based off record, because inevitably, and again, this happens from time to time, a particular division winner has a 500 record or worse. It's happened with your division in the NFC South.
Happens with my division a lot.
It happened with the NFC West one year when the Seahawks won with a 7-9 record. It happened a few years ago in the NFC East, where Washington won with, I believe it was a 7-8-1 record. Way back in the day, the old AFC Central, that was at the time the Steelers, the Oilers, the Browns, and the Bengals. There was a period of 4 years where the winner of that division was always 7-9, not 8-8, 7-9.
Yeah.
So again, it happens. That does not mean that your team in another division who missed out on the playoffs because they didn't win enough games. I'm sorry, let me backtrack. They didn't win their own division and missed out, and you want to bitch against a team that actually won their division.
Yeah.
Because winning your division should mean something. And
Absolutely.
now, by quote, reseeding based off record, you're taking away the reward for winning your division, which is a home playoff game. All 4 division winners are guaranteed at least that as a reward for winning their division. And
which that means a lot to the fans, not only the team.
And as every single former player on every single talk show said when this proposal was brought up, is that the first thing the coach tells you before the season starts is the number one goal is to win your division.
Yep.
Because you're trying to get that home playoff game.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll worry about best record and all that stuff, as we progress on. But ultimately, you want to win your division so you can get as many games as at home as possible in the playoffs. You take that away, what's the freaking point?
Yeah.
And I find it weird that Detroit proposed this, because it would have benefited Minnesota, a team in their own division. Why are you trying to help teams in your own division? So that made no sense.
I'm no. Because again,
and here's the thing:
why win my division at that point?
Because here's the thing: the league revenue sharing, I don't believe, pertains to playoff games. Sales and merchandise revenue sharing, I believe, encompasses preseason home games and regular season home games. I have to double check this, but I don't think it because every team doesn't make the playoffs.
Right.
Only 14 teams make the playoffs, 7 in each conference. So that's bonus money that at minimum 4 teams each conference are generating specifically for themselves because they're hosting a playoff game. You're talking about ticket sales, merchandising, food, and any other vendors that decide to show up. And that's money that is to you. That does not count towards league-wide revenue sharing. So you now talking about, wait, my team won a division. We don't get a home playoff game. You taking money out my pocket.
It does not include the playoffs.
And there you go. Now, I can see why a team who makes the playoffs and has, in the case of the Vikings, a 14-win season, and looking at teams like the Rams and the Buccaneers who won 10 and 11 games respectively, and 10 games each.
Yeah.
And are like, well, why did they get a home playoff game? Well, they won the division. No one cares if their division was sorry or, not up to par as your division because 3 teams made it. Try to duplicate that year in and year out. It's not a thing that happens. Not with as much turnover that happens in the league. So that's my soapbox moment. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get into the final thing of the evening?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Well, it's a shame the ladies are going to miss out on this one because we are going to discuss best fictional athlete. Well, we will be suggesting some names and images of not real sports heroes, but you've seen a sports movie in your life. You've looked at Any Given Sunday, Talladega Nights, Rocky movies. Yeah, these guys aren't real athletes, but you like to imagine what would it be like if these guys actually existed in real life and who would be the best athlete.
Right.
So we are going to throw out some names of who some contenders, and we will decide amongst ourselves the best fictional athlete. And I'm going to let you go first, sir.
So the first one I'm going to throw out, and you probably can guess he's on my list, but you may not imagine me throwing him out first, is Clubber motherfucking Lang.
So I can already see that 90% of all the boxes are going to come from the Rocky and Creed series.
Maybe not. Who knows?
I can see right now where all of our boxes are coming from.
I don't know.
All right, so Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T in Rocky 3. I don't know. I mean,
if you take away the fact that it's Rocky's movie, I don't see Rocky beating Clubber Lang.
Considering how the story is set up, Rocky only loses to Clubber Lang at the beginning of the film because Mickey dies. And that's where I pump the brakes on Clubber Lang, because at the end of the movie, he pretty much gets rope-a-doped into getting knocked out. And I ain't like that, because it almost made it seem like, well, why is this dude here anyway?
Again, if it weren't for the fact that it's Rocky's movie, Clubber Lang wins.
All right.
Rocky ain't beating him. To me, it's just like if it weren't for the fact that Jake Paul bought Mike Tyson would have whooped his ass.
That's a fight I still refuse to watch.
Oh, it wasn't much of a fight. It was not much of a fight.
Right.
But when the contract details later came out, oh, that's why he won.
Understood.
But yes, first on my list, Clubber Lang.
Well, my first nominee for and since we both go on boxing here, I figure I'd get this out the way early. You know who this man is.
You know what? It's not fair because you get to have pictures and shit. That's not fair. I don't get to do that's not fair, man.
Oh gosh.
That's not fair. It's not fair. I protest.
Oh man, I'm gonna pull back the curtain. I'm sorry I didn't ask if there was any slides this week that you wanted to submit. I'm sorry, my fault. In honor of my nominee,
you know what?
want to submit pictures?
All right, all right, okay. I see how we gonna play this game. I see how we playing this game. Okay.
Oh, what was it? Jack Jenkins
Yep.
is the character from Harlem Nights, the champion who basically the entire heist was orchestrated around his fight to rob them white folk for running afoul of Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. So yeah, he was definitely one of the funniest parts of the movie, but he told his opponent, "Don't take this ass whooping personal," and proceeded to lump him up.
That shit was funny as hell, though. Yeah, that shit was funny as hell.
As comical as it was, the towel should have been thrown in 30 seconds to the fight. There's no reason that fight should have went more than one round, and it did somehow.
He did whoop his ass. He did whoop his ass.
Oh my gosh. It was pretty bad. So yeah,
ooh, that would be a fight. Clubber Lang and Jack Jenkins. That would be a fight.
Because I know you're probably going to have him up here later, I would rather see Apollo Creed versus Jack Jenkins.
Okay. I don't know. There's just something about the brutality of Clubber that I like.
And again, we really didn't get a true representation of that brutality because
true.
The one fight we see him win in that, because again, yes, he has multiple fights in the film, but we really only see two.
Fair.
Because the beginning of the film is Rocky adjusting to the success of having beaten Apollo at the end of the second film. So now he's a champion. He's getting all these endorsement deals and all this stuff or whatever. And Clubber's just like this young up-and-coming boxer who's literally at every single one of Rocky's fights looking pissed off that Rocky keeps winning, thinking that he's not a good boxer. And again, only wins the first fight. And again, because this is the storytelling, we don't know. We can always speculate. Literally only wins the first fight because Mick has a heart attack. Rocky goes out there and he's not focused on the fight. He's worried about Mick.
True.
So there is that. What else you got for your next athlete, sir?
All right, my next one I'm going to throw out there is Willie Beeman.
Yeah, that was on both our lists.
Yep.
Oh man.
I thoroughly. What's he doing?
No, you're good. Keep going.
But no, one of the things that I really loved about Willie. One of the things that really makes me love Willie Beeman is the fact that even in the movie, when you look at him versus LL Cool J's character, Julian Washington, I think was his last name.
Yeah.
He's clearly undersized.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nervous wreck before every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And, until he has his pre-game puke, he's just not ready. But he gets that and he's ready to go. But the thing that I love most was the submission tape that you get in the movie, which we later find out was actually what Jamie Foxx did to get the role of Willie Beeman. And I'm just like, that was just wonderful that they incorporated that into his actual character in the movie. I just thought that was wonderful. And again, as we had on one of our previous shows, that this is my favorite sports movie anyway. So yeah, it was going to be Willie Beeman. Oh, well, he at least is going to be on my list. He's not necessarily my favorite on the list, but you knew he was going to be on the list.
Yeah. I knew he was going to be on the list because he was on my list as well. So let me just go ahead. I know it's a small-ish picture, but there's Willie.
Yeah. Oh,
and as we all know, he did that audition tape where he was throwing the football. He sent that in to Oliver Stone and the casting crew because he was up against a rapper we shall not name on this show.
Why not, James? Why don't you want to name the rapper?
Nope. That rapper is currently facing a multitude of counts of human rights violations that I don't need to address. We all know who he is.
Is that who he was up against?
Yeah. Mr. Baby Oil himself.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I never knew that. Okay. All right. Yep, you're right. Nope, we won't. Nope. Moving on. All
right. Well, I'm gonna skip Mr. Willie Beeman. I'm gonna go on to some NASCAR. And if you think I'm going Days of Thunder, you would be absolutely wrong because I don't like Tom Cruise that much.
Oh, that's not at all who I thought would be on the list from a NASCAR movie. There you go. If you're not first, you're last.
Now you can go with either Ricky Bobby or his sidekick. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Where they call themselves Shake and Bake.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for racing films because Talladega Nights is just insanely funny for no reason whatsoever. And
I'm not the biggest Will Ferrell fan, but I love Talladega Nights. That is one of the funniest movies ever. It really is.
And look, I still quote, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now. But one of his pit crew played by Michael Clark Duncan, where he tells
Lucius,
he says, "Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby." So anytime someone wants to say something negative to me or around me, I'm always quoting that line. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Someone wants to say something crazy about one of my teams. That's the one line I'm always quoting.
Yep.
Because I don't need that negativity in my life. Who you got next?
The next one I'm going to go with is, hold on, let me see. Monica Wright.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who has ever seen Love and Basketball, you've got to be a fan of Monica Wright.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that scene where I'll play you for your heart.
It's not even that.
Well,
she was a better baller than him.
Absolutely. That's why as I was sitting there when she came on, I was like, I should include nope. He's not. Nope. She's better. Yeah, just a better all-around baller. Yeah,
she was definitely a better baller than him.
And if I'm not mistaken, was it USC that she went to?
Yep.
Okay.
They both went to USC.
Okay.
But yeah, she was definitely the better baller. And it's like, why are you playing him for his heart? Girl, get you somebody who's going to want you. Like this.
Right.
No, screw this dude. He sucks.
Get you somebody who's going to have a future.
Little kid.
You're going to be in the WNBA. Get you somebody who's going to be in the NBA. Power couple. Both of y'all bringing in all that money. But yes, Monica Wright.
Yeah, that is a good one. My next one is from a movie, and I'm gonna be honest, I have not yet seen, but from the from the clips I've seen, it is pretty damn stupidly hilarious because of who stars in it.
Okay.
And I'm going to apologize to all wrestling fans right now. Nacho Libre.
You know what? I haven't seen it either. I haven't seen it. So I haven't seen it because when that movie came out, I wasn't a big Jack Black fan.
Fair enough.
So I never saw it.
The premise of this film is that I believe he is working for either an orphanage or a school run by a church that is about to get shut down. So he becomes a master wrestler to raise the money. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only wrestler I have on the list.
Funny enough, I have no wrestlers on my list.
And unfortunately, I have no track stars on my list because I should have included Omar Epps' character from Higher Learning.
Yep.
Because he was a track star in that film.
Yep.
And while we at it, before we go any further, shout out to Omar Epps because I'm pretty sure at some point one of us is going to have him on a list as one of the characters, because he has played a college basketball star, a college track star, and a college football star.
Actually, the only place I have him on my list is higher learning. That's the only place I've got him on my list is higher learning.
Yeah, I should have put him on my list from the program.
I always forget about the program, and that was so damn good.
Mm-hmm. That's where you play football, the program.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead with your next one, sir.
So my next one is Sydney Dean.
Really?
Yep. For those of you who don't recognize that name, that was Wesley Snipes' character in White Men Can't Jump.
Oh my God. I mean, in the game of pick up balls, I mean, I guess.
Just saying, he was an athlete.
There are better hoopers out there.
Fair. And hold on. Funny, I got two of them on my list. I got two more hoopers on my list. But we'll get to that later. But for those who don't know,
I'm pretty sure we got the same two hoopers.
Maybe. I don't know.
If it's the movie I'm thinking about, we probably got the same two hoopers.
Possibly. But it's about these two guys who damn near the entire movie is them just hustling dudes playing basketball at random parks around the city. There is a reasoning behind the hustling. I forget what it is, but it's ultimately not that important. It's just them hustling dudes playing basketball all around the city.
Well, for Sydney, it's to get his family up out the projects and into a house.
Yeah.
For Woody Harrelson's character, it is basically so they can stop living motel to motel with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who
Rosie
leaves him at the end of the film. Yeah, he blew that one. All because he let Sydney talk him to a bet for the half of some championship money because he wanted to prove he could dunk.
Oh man.
Your pride is not worth your half. What was it, like $100,000 or something
like that? Yeah.
Tournament. Your pride ain't worth it.
Nope.
And then the begging and pleading you did to get your girl on Jeopardy, because literally all she did for the entire film is watch Jeopardy and read a thesaurus or whatever that book was of 1,001 interesting facts.
Yeah.
And then you pretty much turn around and instead of getting a real job and living off her winnings that she was going to invest, you go play two legends who happen to come back and want to get some run.
Right.
I understand ball is life.
Yeah. But ball is life for him.
Oh, that hurt. Yeah. My next one is actually a two sport star in the same movie.
Uh-oh.
Forrest Gump played returner at Alabama and ping pong for the U.S. national team.
I've actually got him on my list as well.
So Forrest Gump is the first and probably only two-sport athlete I have on here. Again, I forgot to put Omar Epps because I didn't want to include all three of his characters, only one. But yeah.
Again,
Forrest Gump, look, the man was on the spectrum, but I mean, for the one or so years he played at Alabama.
Mm-hmm. And what always cracks me up about that movie is everything that man did, he excelled at.
Yeah.
And he didn't even, I don't want to say he didn't put forth effort, because he did put forth effort, but he made it look easy. Yeah. That was damn good movie. Yeah.
The ping pong one is pretty much what gets me, because after winning, he's pretty much endorsed by a ping pong company, and it's like, I don't want to. It's like, you don't have to agree with what you're saying. Just read the words, and we're going to cut you a fat check. And he read the words, and they cut him a fat check, even though he didn't like their paddles. And pretty much played to the army was like, we're discharging you. You can go home now. Oh.
Okay. So, one quick fact about that movie that I saw, I forget who was doing the interview. Was it Tom? No, I think it was actually Tom Hanks in the interview.
Okay.
Do you know where the accent or the accent and speech pattern for Forrest Gump comes from?
Mm-mm.
You know, the kid who plays young Forrest Gump?
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get the kid to talk like Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks says to the director after talking to the kid, well, why don't I, or no, before he says, why don't I just talk like the kid talks? So he went and he spent, some exorbitant amount of time with the kid, listening to him talk and whatnot. And the accent and speech patterns of Forrest Gump are actually the kid who plays young Forrest Gump's. That's his actual accent and speech pattern, which I thought was really interesting, that since they couldn't get the kid to talk like Tom Hanks said, screw it, I'll talk like the kid.
Talk like him. And it makes more sense.
Right. Because he's the more seasoned actor and can probably more easily adapt than that kid could.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just thought that was a really interesting thing for him to reveal in an interview.
True indeed. All right, who you got next?
Thomas Shepard.
Oh, see, I knew he was going to have him.
For those of you who don't know, that movie is Above the Rim, and it is one of my favorite sport. Actually, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, not just sports movie. And what's funny is, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna take a 2-for-1 since you've got him up there. Kyle Watson is also on my list, who's in that shot, played by Dwayne Martin.
Yeah, God, I told you we was going to have this.
You've got both of them too?
Why do you think the image is here? I was going to close with these two.
I've got another pair that I'm going to close with, but we'll see if we get to them before the end.
You probably have more athletes than me anyway, so yeah. But yeah, great film. The ending, I will say the ending is probably overacting theatrics at its best.
Yeah.
Because the championship game of this shootout classic is such an on-point name for all the wrong reasons,
right?
Considering how the movie ends in that scene. Cal pretty much got caught up with the local drug dealer played by Tupac, and Tupac has a team at this tournament.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone on the team runs in his crew. Cal is told to throw the game, or else they're going to talk about, let slip that he received presents and gifts from a drug dealer, which pretty much nicks his scholarship to going to Georgetown. Yep. So he gets in the game and he faints an injury, goes out, and the team actually does start playing a little bit better because Kyle was sucking it up in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Team starts playing a little bit better, and Tupac gives one of his boys the okay signal, like, yo. And they start permanently injuring dudes to where they can't play anymore.
Yeah.
Kyle comes in, he starts he sees what's going on, he avoids some injuries, and then another player gets hurt. So now they're down to 4 players. So they need a fit. Enter Tommy Shepard, the
AKA
Shep. Who, by the way, him and Tupac play brothers in this movie because Tupac is the younger brother of Tommy Shepard.
Yep.
And Shep comes in and he's basically getting his ass busted. Literally, by the image I showed earlier, you can see the cut on his forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts fighting back.
Yeah.
Now, when Shep shows up, he has no gear on.
Nope.
Shep showed up in a long sleeve shirt, collarless shirt, and corduroy jeans.
And I think some All-Stars, if I'm not mistaken.
Chuck Taylor All-Stars. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he shows up in.
Now what I don't remember, because it's been so long since I've seen it, do you remember why Shep never made it big as a basketball player? Do they ever address that in the movie?
It's the opening shot of the film. So him and one of his high school teammates are on a rooftop playing basketball.
That's right. Yeah, that I forgot about the rooftop. Yeah.
Trying to get as high as possible as far as touching the backboard.
Yeah.
Well, again, remember, this basketball court is on a roof, so you can already imagine where the goal is.
Exactly.
And his teammate goes to get the backboard as high as possible, takes a running start, and instead of jumping up, jumps out, smacks the backboard off, literally takes a chunk of the backboard and falls to his death.
Yeah.
And it scarred, and again, it was an accident.
But it scarred him. Yeah.
It scarred Shep, and he never went on to play basketball ever again.
That
next
to
time
me,
we see him, he is a security guard at the gym of the high school.
Yep.
Where Kyle Watson plays ball.
Yep. That is probably one of two very tragic deaths in that movie. Do you remember the other?
Bernie Mac's character?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was messed up. I'm like, Tupac sliced him up.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's mine was Shep.
All right. Well, since we shared that one, my last one then is going to be back to football. And everyone is familiar with this comedy. And if you're not, there's something wrong with you, especially if you like sports movies, because why haven't you seen this one at least? Uh-oh.
Come on. Let's see.
I don't think I look, I'm working on it. There we go. And boom.
Yep, he's on my list too.
Bobby Boucher from the SCLSU. And I want people to think about that for a minute. SCLSU, which in the movie is the South Central Louisiana State University.
Yep. Oh, that movie was so good.
Oh, stupidly funny for
no
good reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Gators are ornery because of their medulla oblongata. No, because your mama said so. Football is the devil because your mama said so.
Medulla oblongata.
Yes. And Bobby pretty much wrecked shop playing middle linebacker in the entire film. Hell, you could make a whole list of Adam Sandler sports films, honestly, with the fictional characters he played.
I've got his other on my list as well.
I'm guessing that would be Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
Yeah. Great
Price
golf.
Is wrong, Bob.
Just for the fight scene with Bob Barker alone makes that entire film. I really have forgotten everything else about that movie except for the fight with Bob Barker. Like, I know he's going up against Shooter McGavin.
Yep.
I don't care what the reason was. Maybe it was to save his mom's house because we know he's a former.
That's exactly what it was.
Player. None of that stuff matters, though. He gets in a fight with Bob Barker,
who proceeds to whoop his ass. And then Bob is walking off like, punk ass, come up to me.
Now, did you know that the sequel is coming to Netflix this month?
Wait, what? No. You can't.
There's a Happy Gilmore 2 that hits Netflix sometime this month.
What?
Yes. I don't remember the exact date, but I was reminded of it recently because, again, I spend more time on Netflix adding stuff to watch instead of actually watching stuff. And in the upcoming soon section, it popped up again. What's the date?
So, hold on, wait. Do they have the date listed? It says 2025, July 25th, 2025 is the expected release date.
July of this year. So yeah, we got about 3 months ish before it hits Netflix. I thought it was coming out this month, but yes, Happy Gilmore 2.
I did not know they were making this. Oh man.
It's easy to miss with all the trailers out there these days, but yeah, I did first see the trailer on YouTube.
You know, Adam Sandler is one of those white dudes who he doesn't age like other white people. Because I've got the clip over here because I put it up on IMDb, and obviously he's aged, but
not like
he doesn't. Yeah, not like you're
right.
And I'm sorry, white people don't age very well. It's the lack of melanin. We all know this. But he's not aging as youthfully as Ant-Man. What's Ant-Man's real name? Paul Rudd,
yeah. Not like that, but still, yeah.
But he does look pretty decent. Yeah.
Yep. Happy Gilmore 2. It's coming. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't know about it.
I did not know about this. Yeah, 7/25/25.
All right then. All right. Who else you got? Because I am done with my list.
So how far on this list do you want me to go? You know what? No, screw that. Well, all right, I'm gonna just run my list.
All right.
Willie Beeman, Julian Washington,
Yep.
Thomas and Kyle Watson, Apollo Creed, Adonis Creed, Monica Wright, Willie Mays Hayes.
Oh, yeah, Major League.
Clubber Lang.
Yeah.
Sydney and Billy from White Man Can't Jump.
Mm-hmm.
The pair I was going to end it with were Jake and Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Oh,
right.
Oh,
right. Daniel LaRusso.
Okay, combat sports, yeah.
Happy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
Rod Tidwell. And I bet most people don't even know his name.
Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character from Jerry Maguire, yeah.
Yep. Because most people just, Dottie Henson.
League of Their Own, yep. Pitcher.
Forrest Gump, Bobby Boucher. Harry Doyle.
Oh, snap. I'm drawing a blank. Harry Doyle, basketball player.
Baseball.
Oh, baseball.
Major League. Bob
Major
Uecker.
League. Yeah, Bob Uecker. That's right.
Bob Uecker. Scott Howard.
Michael J. Fox and Teen Wolf.
Rocky Balboa. Damian Anderson. Jonathan Majors in Creed 3. Yep.
Yeah,
and Malik
3.
Williams. Yeah, dude. When you told me we were going to do this, I was like, "Oh, I started my list that day." I was like, I don't know how much time we got, but all the ones I could remember, I just started rattling them off, and I was like, once I got to the end of my list, the ones that I wasn't 100% sure on, I went and I looked them up because I was like, I couldn't remember Dwayne Martin's character's name. I couldn't remember Harrelson's character's name, and I couldn't remember Gina Davis's character's name. So those I had to go back and look up, but I knew I wanted them all on my list. And like I said, I started that day.
Yeah. I mean, League of Their Own, you could pretty much pick anybody. I'm surprised you didn't put Drago on this list because you pretty much named every other boxer in the Rocky franchise but him. Yeah. The only ones you left off were him and Tommy Gunn. Them the only two you missed from the Rocky series.
Honestly, when I first started my list, I hadn't intended on including any non-brown people.
I understand.
Just to be quite honest, I hadn't planned on including any non-brown people. But I was like, I really loved A League of Their Own, and I really loved White Men Can't Jump. I was like, Adam Sandler. I had in Forrest Gump. I was like, there's no way I cannot include them.
Right. So here's one you missed. Deja from Higher Learning.
Yeah.
Tyra Banks played Omar Epps' girlfriend, who also ran track.
Yep. That is such a good movie.
Yeah. And again, like with the actors of like Omar Epps and Adam Sandler, who have played multiple athletes across multiple films, it is crazy because we could easily have all of their characters on this list.
Yeah.
But again, like we said earlier, there was no way we were putting his character from Love and Basketball on here because Sanaa Lathan's character was a better ball player.
Yeah.
And I dare anybody to convince me otherwise, because your argument, you're not going to win.
I'm not even going to have the argument with anybody. I'm going to just sit there and look at them.
And the fact that you went Daniel LaRusso, and I know you haven't watched it yet, but...
No, there's no yet.
Okay, so you're probably not going to watch Cobra Kai, even though it's done. You can literally take every single kid from that series and put them on this list because they are that damn good.
I mean, I've seen some of it because a person who I hang out with quite a bit, she loves that show, and it'll be on and we're watching it, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this show is so bad. Why are you watching this? I don't think it's very good.
Okay.
Now, granted, I've probably only seen 6 episodes of the entire series.
You're missing. I'm not going to say you're missing out. But I will say the story is pretty much what you would get from any popcorn action film, right?
So the story actually seems pretty good, but in my opinion, the writing is just bad. Honestly, I think that show did as well as it did off nostalgia.
True. No argument there whatsoever.
Because as much as I loved the Karate Kid movies growing up, when she had it, I was like, all right, let me watch it and try and give it a shot. Oh, it was just bad, and I couldn't. Again, because it's the complete opposite of my favorite fandom is Doctor Who.
Right.
And when you see those old episodes of Doctor Who from the 60s and 70s and even some of the 80s, the special effects are horrible.
Right.
There's one particular alien on that planet that one of the things that's a weapon is a toilet plunger. And when you see them, you're like, that ain't nothing but a damn toilet plunger that they done put on his chest. But the writing
at the time.
Right. But the writing and the acting is so good that it makes up for the shittiness of some of the special effects and the tech that they had. And to me, Karate Kid, I forget what the name of the series is. It's Cobra the opposite. Kai. Yeah, Cobra Kai. The writing and the acting just aren't very good.
Okay, so I'm gonna give
in my opinion.
I'm gonna give you this little nugget here that I'm pretty sure you weren't aware of. Did you watch How I Met Your Mother?
I saw some of it, yes.
Okay. So Neil Patrick Harris' character on the show is obsessed with the Karate Kid films to the point to where his favorite character is Johnny Lawrence. And there's many an episode, not a lot, but a handful of episodes where he mentions that the Karate Kid is actually based on Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso cheats.
Interesting.
To the point that where they have a birthday party for, I think the character he plays is named Barney. Barney Stinson. So they have a birthday party for him in one episode, and there's a clown there. Turns out to be William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, and he strips out of the clown costume, is wearing his Cobra Kai gi. And apparently that episode, even though the creators of Cobra Kai have not officially confirmed this, but they have hinted at it during interviews of the show's run, that episode was the impetus for doing Cobra Kai.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Because honestly, the backbone of the show, yes, it does focus on this ongoing feud between Johnny and Daniel still, but that really doesn't last throughout all 5 seasons.
Yeah.
It pretty much dies around season 2. Their beef as adversaries, if you will.
Yeah.
And it really is just, I won't say redemption arc, but more so of Johnny Lawrence coming into his own.
Okay.
So for that alone, I know you're not going to go back and watch it, but if you ever get curious, because it really is like what happened to these guys after the events of the series of movies ended.
Yeah.
And it does pick up from that point at a low point in Johnny's life and the so-called picture perfect point of Daniel LaRusso's life.
Mm-hmm.
And them actually becoming friends throughout the course of the series. And I use the word friends very loosely because it's more so of a mutual understanding for each other. But if you want to give it a chance, I'm pretty sure you're not going to go back and watch it from the very beginning.
I mean,
let's put it this way. If you ever want background noise, because it's not something you really have to focus on and pay attention to.
Fair.
But if you want it something as like background noise that you can check in every so often, because you're not going to miss a lot by looking away or whatever like that. It's not great television by any stretch of the imagination, but again, it's the same thing you would get from, say, watching Die Hard.
And again, I wanted to like it because again, I love the Karate Kid movies growing up, and I was like, because originally it wasn't on Netflix; it was a YouTube Red show.
Yes, seasons 1 and 2 were strictly YouTube.
And I didn't have YouTube Red, and I'm like, I'm not getting another streaming service. So when it came to Netflix, and I was at my friend's place, and she was watching, I was like, all right, cool. I can finally check out Cobra Kai and see what's going on with the Karate Kid as an adult. And I wanted to like it, but after about, like I said, maybe 6 or so, I was like, yeah, I can't watch this. This is just not very good. And again, I gave it about 6 or 7 episodes.
In the first season, from the very beginning?
It was either season 1 or season. It was either season 1 or season 2, because it was just one day when we were just kind of hanging out, not really doing anything, and the TV was on, so we were watching it.
Yeah, so like you're missing background. If it was season 2, you're missing a lot of background from season 1.
Yeah, but that doesn't make up for bad acting.
They're kids.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. So they did on this show what Iron Fist failed to do. They found kids with martial arts backgrounds and they hired them as actors because most of these kids do their own damn stunts over the course of 5 seasons.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
This movie, they took martial arts people and tried to make them into actors.
That part.
Okay.
And because remember, the kid who plays Blue Beetle is in this show. He's one of the stars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So as opposed to Iron Fist, where they chose, quote, the better actor, that's debatable, and wanted to coach him up in martial arts 5 minutes before a scene was being shot. And you can tell this dude sucks balls. And then later on, you see Louis Tan, who, by the way, Louis Tan, who plays the drunken master, who was up for Iron Fist in Iron Fist. Louis Tan is also in season 5 of Cobra Kai.
Ah, okay.
So something to look forward to if you choose to watch.
I mean, and it's on Netflix, so it's not like I can't watch it.
Now, I don't know how they thought that Louis Tan wasn't a better actor than Finn What's-His-Face that they chose for Iron Fist, because I still don't see it. Louis Tan is I'm not going to say he's great, but he does a serviceable job to where it's like, I can ignore that because he's a great martial artist and he's basically fighting. Like, you have him here for fight sequences.
Yeah. I wonder if it came down to money.
Okay, then he would be the cheaper person to hire as opposed to Finn What's-His-Face.
Oh, would he? Okay. I don't. The guy who played Iron Fist, I don't know who he is in real life.
Right. Well, he was on Game of Thrones as one of the Baratheon brothers. That's where they got him from. He was the youngest Baratheon brother who gets killed. Renly Baratheon. That's who he is on Game of Thrones.
Shit. That is him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how he got the job of Iron Fist, by playing Renly Baratheon.
Okay. All right.
And everybody was like, okay, but can he fight?
Right.
And the answer was no. Very quickly we learned that. There's a reason that all the other defenders got at least a second season and he did not.
That part.
Now, unfortunately, yeah, we'll get into that on the What You're Watching show. I'm not going to go too much into that. Because we're running a little long now. But anything else you want to mention before we get out of here for the evening?
Go watch some of those movies that we picked characters from. Even if you have seen them, some of them are great to revisit. If you haven't, they are some excellent movies to watch.
Indeed. And next month we will probably be reeling from the NFL draft that is coming up. Some of us will be happy. Some of us will be very angry. And some of us will be completely baffled as to what the hell did we just do?
I have a feeling I'm going to be sad. I have a feeling I'm going to be very, very sad.
And for anybody wondering, yes, I am still wearing my Eagles Super Bowl sweatshirt. I will be wearing Eagles Super Bowl gear until the next Super Bowl. So get used to it.
We were supposed to have been in the Super Bowl this year. Damn it.
And on that note,
I'm just saying, that would have been so poetic.
Mm-hmm. And then we saw how the season played out.
Yeah, we did.
So now imagine that, but this time with Michael Penix.
He does give me hope. I do. What I got to see of him, he is definitely the future. He is the future quarterback of the team.
Okay.
He is.
Just remember what I said to you in the playoffs. When Bijan comes up, y'all better resign him.
Yeah.
Because again, I think Bijan is special.
Oh, definitely. The thing that I like is, because of when we signed him, the only other person that will have to make a decision this year on Pitts, and I forget how many years we've got left before we have to make a decision on I can't think of his name right now.
Drake London?
Algier.
Oh, Algier.
Yeah, at some point we've got to make a decision on Algier. I'm fairly certain they're not going to renew Pitts because his production just wasn't very good. But how much of that was quarterback? Whatever it is, yes. When Bijan's time comes up, he is the back they need to keep. Because again, he is special. You are absolutely right.
And I would say don't wait to the last minute like Dallas does.
Yeah.
Because they get more expensive. The thing because look, everyone's starting to realize what Philly does. And I get it. Every GM does things differently. But this has been a Philly thing since Andy Reid was head coach. Is that the players they draft, when they decide this is a guy we're going to keep, they don't let them get to the final year of their rookie contract.
Right.
They get them.
You get them at year number 3.
You get them. So if it's a 5-year contract, you don't wait to the end of year 5.
Nope.
They typically get them somewhere around year 4. So right before year 4 starts, or somewhere during year 4, but definitely before year 4 of that contract ends, the extension is already signed.
Yeah.
They don't let them see the last year of that contract. And then that's when all the restructuring comes as far as moving the money around.
Right.
Because when you get them early, you don't have to pay top dollar for these free agents. So when quarterbacks were 40 million, they're signing them then because they know in 2 years quarterbacks are going to be 60 million. So that's how Hurts got his contract at average of 50 a year. That's why Devontae has his contract, which is averaging, I think, 20 a year or close to it, because of what the price was a year ago for top wide receivers. If they had let Devontae get to the end of his contract, considering what Chase and T. Higgins just signed for in Cincinnati, 40 and 30 million a piece, average per year.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bengals fans, y'all gonna put up 45 points and you're gonna give up 45 points.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you're gonna feel the defense with a wide receiver making 40, a wide receiver making 35, and a quarterback making 50.
Their defense is going to look like ours.
Worse.
Ooh.
Right. Because you can't sign veterans unless you get them on the vet minimum. Because veterans will want to get paid, especially if they had good seasons. And they know you ain't got no money, so they ain't looking at Cincinnati.
And then unless you do something like we did with Judon and you give them on a 1-year deal.
And let him prove it.
Right.
And hopefully he resigns. Because, again, we did the same thing with Zach Bond, who we resigned, and with Mekhi Becton, who we lost to the Chargers. So,
yeah.
But, all right. For Furious, I'm James. Good night, everybody.
Peace out.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it cedar lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand,
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii in a perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course. Cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.